Tonight, the school holidays kick off with Target set to secure more visitors to the region and a rare event, snowfalls in the mid-north.
From our 7 Spencer Golf Studios, your nightly news with Louise Huber begins now.
Good evening. Despite a tough year for regional tourism, an optimistic target has been set to grow regional visitor expenditure to $4 billion in 5 years. It comes with the school holidays starting today, with Port Lincoln accommodation already selling out.
When it comes to exploring the Eyre Peninsula, visitors are spoilt for choice, and the word is getting out, with thousands of city nomads planning their trip to the west coast.
They're getting in their car and they're discovering absolutely fantastic experiences, great local food, and most importantly, very interesting and wonderful people.
South Australia's Tourism Commission aiming to hone in on the region, meeting with local communities to help grow visitor numbers.
The strategy is about realising the potential of regional South Australia, which is an absolute economic powerhouse for our state.
Eyre Peninsula alone injects more than $400 million per annum into the state's purse, but the Commission wants to boost those coffers by growing regional South Australia's visitor expenditure to a whopping $4 billion in 5 years.
If you're going to have a target, you might as well have an ambitious one.
Despite floods, fires and the pandemic causing chaos on the travel industry, the Commission remains hopeful. It says intrastate travel is a lifeline for communities, tipping that as what will lead South Australia's tourism recovery.
Everything has been sort of booked this week. You know, there's a few nights here and there, but no, really, really busy with probably an average stay too, around about, 4 nights.
It's not just Port Lincoln businesses cashing in, with Streaky Bay and Tumby Bay also seeing a spike in bookings as school holidays kick off today.
And you hear of a lot of people going up through the middle as well and through to the Gawler Ranges. So it just, the whole Eyre Peninsula has just been really busy.
There are people here already and it's only going to get stronger. So I'd just say if you're coming over, book now.
With the New South Wales border now open, operators are hopeful we'll soon see visitors from Sydney exploring the west coast.
After the holidays are over, we'll start to see New South Wales starting to sort of plan their holidays, and it'll extend our season even longer.
Port Lincoln now bursting back to life, a welcome sign for what's been a tough year on a global scale. Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Police are issuing fresh warnings for motorists tonight to drive safely with the start of the school holidays. With more people expected to travel to the regions, police will be out in force, cracking down on dangerous driving. Motorists are reminded to follow the speed limit, drive to the conditions, wear a seatbelt and never use a mobile phone while behind the wheel. South Australia Police have seized a cache of dangerous firearms during a raid at a Whyalla home. 2 rifles, ammunition and a set of knuckle dusters were among the weapons found at the Whyalla Stewart property yesterday. A 32-year-old man was arrested for possessing a prescribed firearm, a Class A firearm without a licence, ammunition and a prohibited weapon. Anyone who has information on illegal firearm activity should contact police. Parts of South Australia's mid-north have been covered in a blanket of white, with snow falling in many parts. This incredible vision shows just how spectacular the area looks with its white coat on. Locals in the area woke up to some of the heaviest snowfall seen in many years, with temperatures plunging to unusually low September temperatures. But because of how light it is, it's not expected to stay around. Still to come tonight, local authorities take part in an emergency training situation, and some of Whyalla's best and brightest visit UniSA for specialised learning. Welcome back. State emergency services have been put through their paces, with members taking part in a mock emergency car crash situation. The scenario helping to better prepare volunteers for real-life events.
What started as a standard briefing resulted in a major training operation. The scenario, a train and car collision near Woolshed Flat just outside of Corn.
On arrival there, they had 3 people entrapped, one person was missing, but they found that person. We had 17 walking wounded, so they were running around all over the place, and we had a helicopter coming in to pick up the critically injured.
Although only a training exercise, this mimicked real life. This drone footage capturing the scope of the scene with multiple emergency vehicles along the muddy road. Crews frantically tending to the situation at hand, demonstrating time-sensitive situations which simulate reality.
It gives people to practice those skills and apply those skills in a controlled sense and learn from them while being mentored and coached by people that have attained a lot of experience over the years.
Ambulance officers rushing onto the train to treat patients, with CFS members using the jaws of life to take the roof off the car. The simulation of 2 passengers on board ramping up the pressure, ensuring this crew works as quickly and efficiently as possible.
The best thing you can do is probably at the end of the day is actually get on the truck and do the training and just go to incidents and learn that way with people with more experience.
The day strategically put together to enable dozens of volunteers from around the region, some as far as Whyalla, to work together in a critical situation.
The opportunity to work with other services, which we may do in a real event, is priceless.
The training exercise, one of the largest crews have been a part of in almost 2 years, an experience invaluable for all involved.
There's nothing replaces it. I mean, you can do all the training and the textbook stuff in the world, but that only teaches you the capabilities of the equipment. But you've got to adapt that knowledge to the circumstances you find yourself in.
Training local heroes in situations we hope never become reality. Laura Milovanovic, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Drought-stricken farmers in South Australia are set to be further supported with the renewal of the government's water infrastructure scheme. The current scheme has been boosted by more than $3 million after receiving a large amount of interest earlier in the year. The initiative supports farmers with costs associated with accessing help and installing critical farm infrastructure such as water storages, pumps and pipes. The member for Giles is calling on Electranet to use local steel in the construction of its Eyre Peninsula link. The new transmission line will extend from Coltana to Port Lincoln. It will include 550 towers with 1,000 tonnes of reinforcing rods.
So that grid upgrade does give us an opportunity to provide our local products, our local steel and local fabricators.
An Electranet spokesperson says the project's early works contractor is currently sourcing costs for steel from a range of providers, which includes local steel. Work on the project is planned to begin early next year. A selected group of middle school students from across Whyalla have taken part in this week's UniSA STEM program. The Experience Week was an opportunity for the students to see what a career involving science or mathematics would look like.
15 of Whyalla's best and brightest students coming together for a week of fun.
Different STEM education, so we've been looking at some coding, some technology and soldering, a bit of science with some water filtration systems.
It's been really good also because there's all the schools here, so we get to interact with people we don't usually see. And it's just given us an opportunity to look more into this STEM stuff and see what we can do with it.
The Year 10s interacting with like-minded students from across the Steel City, all participating in a once-in-a-lifetime hands-on experience different to what their schools usually offer.
It sort of opens up quite a wide variety of career paths. STEM education is sort of quite broad in range, and it's just getting them a bit of a taste, and if any of them particularly hit home, then they can possibly pursue those at UniSA.
The program encourages these bright students to take up a career pathway in a science or mathematical field.
It's really interesting, like STEM overall, and I think it could be something they would look into more in the future and just see what my options are for it.
I would like to be an environmental scientist, so I think a lot of the topics we've covered is going to give me a bit of a head start, and I'll look into what I want to do when I'm older.
The university teachers, along with the Rotary Club of Whyalla, the program's major sponsor, set up a presentation ceremony in completion of the students' participation. One by one and with smiles on their faces, the students walked up to collect their certificate, proud to be a part of an important stepping stone into their future. Sophia Contigonis, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Stay with us. Coming up after the break, race car drivers visit Port Lincoln with their adrenaline addiction taking them to new depths. And the Bennett Oval upgrade almost at completion thanks to new night lights. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. After a busy race at Tailem Bend over the weekend, Bathurst winners David Reynolds and Craig Lowndes made a quick trip to Port Lincoln, where they mustered up the courage to cage dive with great whites. The drivers helping promote and support local tourism before heading back to race again this weekend.
The stars of the racing world face to face with the stars of the deep. Usually in the driver's seat, David Reynolds is used to a bit of adrenaline, but seeing a great white shark up close and in person was something that took his breath away.
I was a little bit apprehensive waking up this morning because I didn't know what I was in for, and sharks are, very, very scary fishes. So, but I had one of the best days ever.
Today was my first experience of being in a cage underwater
With me.
And you. You're a shark.
The Bathurst winners travelling across to the seafood capital in between races at Tailem Bend, helping support and promote regional tourism.
It's been fantastic to be able to take the drivers out of their environment and put them in another environment, and to really showcase what the areas actually can showcase for what they've got.
Gary Jacobson still riding a high from the weekend. He cleared 13th in the last race on the Bend.
We started last in the final race to get there, so it was a good positive situation for me and the team. We came back from a little bit of a struggle.
As a category, I think they had three of the best races they had all year.
The team also filming their trip and experience with the Apex Predators, which will be showcased at the race this Sunday.
Some way we're trying to give back is to make sure that we bring some eyes and witnesses to what goes on here in this awesome town at Port Lincoln.
Port Lincoln's charm already rubbing off on the drivers, who say they'll be back.
I haven't been here at Port Lincoln before, but it looks like an awesome place. I'd love to bring my family and my friends back here one day if I ever get a chance. And it was just a positive experience to actually see some sharks.
Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Whalers go-kart racing is making a return with this weekend its second event since the pandemic started. Usually filled with hundreds of locals and tourists flocking to watch, the event's now a little different. The club encouraging locals to come and support the races, with the youngest just 12 years old.
I think you'll be quite excited. I mean, the carts get up to 90 or even 100 kilometres an hour down the straight, and almost that fast around the corners, some of them. It's really exciting.
The event starts at lunchtime tomorrow. The club's annual Festival State Cup has been postponed until the end of the year. Cape Hardy's $250 million export port is one step closer to reality after investment bank Macquarie Capital signed on to the agreement. The port is set to help farmers across the Eyre Peninsula export their grain to markets overseas, with the capability for the site to be used for other commodities such as iron ore and hydrogen production. Macquarie Capital will become a joint developer.
It's a real fillip to it because farmers have the need for the port, Iron Road has the land and the assets, and Macquarie has the capability.
The first sod is expected to be turned in early 2023. New ground lights at Whalers Bennett and Memorial Oval are going up, allowing the city to hold night games and tournaments. The lights will be almost as bright as the Adelaide Oval, with the aim to draw in a big crowd every game.
This final stage of the upgrade, which started before COVID-19 hit, almost complete.
We do have the lights going up here at Bennett Oval. They're still in the commissioning stage, but I'm sure the public driving around will see that the new light poles are 36 metres tall. They are quite noticeable.
And this is just another example of the Whyalla City Council improving our amenities within the city.
Council committing $5 million to the upgrades of Bennett and Memorial Oval. The installation of the lights, a key and final component of the project.
I know cricket and football are looking to use them for some nighttime games. They also give council the ability to hold some other functions here.
Functions which will see tourists visit and spend money in the city.
And we want to attract events to this city to have during the day, but also at night.
We have spec'd it out so that if Women's Big Bash or Women's AFL football want to play here under lights, and that's the sort of thing we could look to do.
Council is currently working with the AFL and Cricket Australia to see what funds are available to further upgrade Memorial Oval. But with 4 lights at each ground now, it gives Council and Wyalla's newly formed Sports Advisory Group a chance to forward plan big games and events.
It is a first for Whyalla. You know, the lights are the second brightest outside of Adelaide Oval, so it does make us a point of difference.
And with the brand new jetty just over 1 week old, who wouldn't want Whyalla to host a game? Sophia Contagonis, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Stay with us. After the break, we'll have this week's footy tips and the weather with Britt. Hello again with some big footy games on this weekend. Let's hear from the experts with their tips.
Hello and welcome to the grand final edition of SGL Football. It's going to be a huge day here in Pirrie, starting with the under-15s at Pirrie West Oval with Port up against Central. That'll be followed by the under-18s also on Pirrie West with Port playing Central once again. Then it's over here to Memorial for the big ones. South versus Lions in the seconds and South versus Lions in the league. South coming into this game looking to make it 5 premierships in a row, whilst the Lions will be searching for their first grand final since their 2015 victory. This game should be a beauty, and if it's as good as the first final these two played, the spectators are in for a thrilling finish. I'm tipping the Lions.
Welcome to Port Lincoln Footy Tips and Grand Final week. They call it the Premiership Quarter, and that's exactly what it was last weekend, where Tasman's nailed 5 unanswered goals to beat Marble Range. They're going to have to lift this week against Waybacks though. Waybacks have match winners all over the ground, up forward, in the midfield, and at stoppages. Tasman's fast runners on the outside are going to have to come into play and hopefully run Waybacks off their feet. In saying this, I don't know if they can do it, and I'm going to tip Waybacks to be premiers this year. Win this one by 2 goals.
It's grand final time here in Whyalla football, and it's West Whyalla versus Central Whyalla. Central's knocked out Rapina in last week's preliminary final. Roos had been second all year but dropped their last 3 games, so now we've got a repeat of the 2019 grand final between the Dragons and the Roosters. West are clearly favourites in this game. They're undefeated this season, beaten Central's twice. They're in their 10th grand final in a row and they're going for their 5th premiership in a row, so all eyes will point to West. But Centrals have really taken it up to the teams in the second half of the season. They're in great form. They do match up well against West. They've got lots of young, fast players that'll play well on the big ground, and it certainly won't be a surprise if they win. But all eyes will point to West Whyalla getting premiership number 5 in a row on Saturday.
And for a look to see what the weather's doing, here's Britt.
Thanks, Louise, and good evening. As we saw earlier, areas of the mid-north woke up blanketed in snow today, thanks to a cold snap, with some flurries continuing through the morning. Overnight, temperatures dropped to 2.5 degrees at Clare and 5.8 at Port Pirie, where this afternoon it reached a high of 15 degrees. 15 was also the top for Port Augusta and Whyalla today. 16 degrees was the region's high recorded at Woodner. It reached a top of 14 at Port Lincoln, Broken Hill, Coffin Bay and Adelaide, and a high of 13 at Kadina and Cleve. Clare warmed up to just 10 degrees today. Taking a look at today's satellite images, and we can see cloud scattering across southern South Australia, with wintry winds causing showers, a few storms and some snow this morning. Skies remained clear in the north under a dry air mass. Moving on to tomorrow, on the Gulf waters, southwesterly winds at 20 to 30 knots, easing late morning to around 25 knots, and again in the evening to around 15 to 20 knots. Seas at 2 to 3 metres, with south to southwesterly swells reaching up to 2 metres in southern waters. A partly cloudy day expected at Port Lincoln tomorrow, looking at a top of 15. Cleve also 15 with cloudy conditions. Woodner partly cloudy and 18. Whyalla fine and 17 tomorrow. Tops of 17 for Port Augusta and Kadina too, both looking fine and partly cloudy. And there is a warning to sheep graziers current for the mid-north overnight, with temperatures predicted to drop significantly once again. Warming up to 17 degrees at Port Pirie tomorrow, Clare cloudy and 12, Broken Hill partly cloudy tomorrow with a top of 16. Taking a look ahead to Sunday now, and it's looking to be another another partly cloudy day, but a little bit warmer. 23 the top for Woodna and Port Augusta. Whyalla and Port Pirie looking to reach 21 degrees, Kadina 20, Broken Hill and Port Lincoln both 17. Monday, showers about the lower Eyre Peninsula and strong winds about the west coast. But fine and partly cloudy elsewhere. Woodna warming up to a top of 29 degrees. A high of 28 forecast for Port Augusta, Whyalla 26, a top of 24 for Port Pirie and Kadina, Port Lincoln and Broken Hill both 22 degrees. And finally, now to Tuesday. Showers expected across the Spencer Gulf, Port Augusta with a high of 27 degrees, Woodna, Port Pirie and Whyalla all with tops of 25 degrees, a high of 23 for Kadina, Broken Hill also 23 but remaining dry with cloudy conditions expected there, and a top of 20 degrees forecast for Port Lincoln on Tuesday. And Louise, that is the weekend weather, and with that it's back to you.
All right, thank you for that, Britt. And that wraps up your local news for this week. Thank you, as always, for joining us. We'll have updates later. Until then, enjoy your evening and have a lovely weekend. Good night.